months.
At the same time, I want to give a shout out to Big. He went 0-3-7 KDA, 78% kill participation. A little bit of a tongue twister there, as Bard in that first game. Definitely doing some work in that match, getting the stuns that they needed, setting up the plays.
And you think about everything that Shrimp did on the bottom side of the map had a little bit of Big in it, because the early Q, I know, the Big Shrimp, the Oxymoron combo, the Q was what set up that resonating strike, and then the second time it was the portal into the Q after DoubleLift flashes, and then even the Dragon Steel was the use of the Magical Journey to get in.
All right, going into picks and bans for game number 2, LeBlanc and Kennen banned away by TSM. Zach banned away by Dig. Caitlyn going to be joining him now.
Caitlyn jumping up there, they really don't want to deal with that, even though it wasn't that effective. They feel like they may not be able to get their hands on the Bard or that early kind of lane crushing that they had before. But also TSM banning away the Kennen means that we're going to see Hauntzer on something else here. He's played Kennen, Fiora, and Rumble so far this split.
Well, 2 of them are banned away by his own team, so might have an inkling where he wants to go in terms of at least his own personal preference. Thresh, the final ban on the side of Dignitas, getting rid of one of those playmaker supports.
Yeah, they banned it both games against Biofrost. You think back to Challenger when Biofrost was there. I remember him being a very, very good Thresh player, so it's always comfort and something you can go back to. But yes, the Galio.
Not really a surprise to see that picked up. It was banned away in game number 1, I believe.
Yes, it was. It was banned by TSM. And this is interesting, and I like what they've done so far, because that's... I was going to say it's most likely top lane Galio, because of the fact that you have Fiora banned. So you banned Fiora Kennen, 2 of the worst matchups for Galio early on, especially Fiora scaling into late, that this could be something that they really utilize in that top lane instead of throwing it mid for Bjergsen.
And you mentioned at the end of the last game, Zirene, that Lod actually had the lowest damage contribution to Dignitas on the team with that Varus. He was the CC bot. He just did his role. He was not the carry.
Don't get caught.
Well, that's what he's going to be doing again this game, potentially. They lock in the Varus for him in this second game, saying, hey, it worked really well in the first one. Let's do it again. Now they're thinking about what they want Shrimp on. Last time around, it was the Lee Sin. This time around, a similar champion in the Elise.
Yeah, the Elise and the Zac were banned away from TSM last time. Elise is actually a very high priority jungler at the moment. After Zac, it really has shot up as that champion that you can ban. And I actually expect Rakan and Xayah here from TSM, because they have Galio for the synergy. And there's a possibility of an Orianna as well to come through later if it doesn't get banned away. And they're just looking for this wombo combo team fight. TSM just played a tankless composition into Dignitas, got pulled out, or pulled kind of across the map. Now, go fight them.
Yeah, now you got the lovers lane, you got Galio. Galio loves being with somebody on his team who can go in and then he ults on top of them. Rakan can get in there, use that ultimate, get on top of everybody, throw them up into the air, and then as soon as they land, kaboom, Galio right there on top of them.
Exactly. When you close about 2,000 units of distance by jumping to Xayah and then doing the recombo, which is the R plus flash W and the double CC charm into knockup, then it's a huge amount of engagement potential and really hard to get out of her QSS or react to. And then you throw a Galio on top of that, there's just this large area that you are flailing in as you're being CC chained.
The response from Dignitas, though, will be Renekton in that top lane to deal with the Galio. Pretty powerful pick in its own right, especially in the hands of somebody like Ssumday. So you're going to have to keep an eye on that top lane yet again. Last time we didn't really see the huge swing and sway from the top lane like we were potentially predicting, but this time around it could be a very different story with these 2 big champs up there. Syndra and Zyra banned away now in the second part of the banning phase.
Yeah.
1 more to be coming from each side.
Now, question is, what is going to happen to Orianna here? Are they going to ban it away on Dignitas' side? Are they going to pick it? Are they going to make TSM think that they'll pick it and then have it banned away? Or is TSM just going to get this? Okay, they don't want them to have it, even though they have the option of possibly picking it here.
Banning away the safe pick like that leads you to believe that Dignitas will be happy just picking up their support, seeing what TSM goes for, and then leaving that mid lane counter pick available for Keane. Remember what you said last game, Zirene. You have the Taliyah, you have the Syndra, you have the Orianna, those big ones. And right now, Ori Syndra banned away, Taliyah still up. So you might see Dignitas pick up the Taliyah, like we saw from TSM last time around. Do they value it that much, though?
It's actually what I'm expecting here, because if you give the Taliyah to TSM, you give them another one of those top picks. You could counter with the Cassiopeia, that's fine. But are you going to go for the support instead and just have a front line here? Yeah, it's a possibility.
Right? They lock in the Braum. They aren't going to place the same priority on Taliyah that TSM did. Plus, remember that when TSM picked Taliyah like that, 4th pick, they had banned away the Kassadin. They had taken care of some of the matchups they were worried about. Kassadin is still available. Cassiopeia is still available. There's options to pick into that.
I like that you mentioned the Kassadin because they could last pick that here depending on what Bjergsen picks, but really interesting to see how this is going to go out because you really pick a Kassadin when you have winning side lanes, and they have a winning top lane. Their bottom lane for Dignitas could potentially win as well, but I wouldn't call it by any means something that you would be able to just kind of run away with the game. It might just be another Cassiopeia here, as the Taliyah will probably go over to Bjergsen.
Yep, Taliyah going to be in Bjergsen's hands yet again. Lee, the pick for Svenskeren this time around. Going to see if he can have the impressive performance that Shrimp had on it last time. Now Dignitas thinking about a couple options. Echo actually being the one that they've decided to sit on for a couple of seconds now.
Wouldn't be bad, has some outplay potential on both sides of this matchup. Can really get in Taliyah's face and outplay it, but like I had previously said, the Cassiopeia is the go-to.
That's going to be locked in for Keane. So Cass versus Taliyah in the mid lane once again. Might not have been the Cass we originally mentioned, but it's still a Cass, so it still counts.
Oh, yeah. No.
Top side, Galio versus Renekton. Again, Ssumday's carry potential on a champion that can beat you up in the 1v1 like Renekton does. Very real at the same time. The combo potential from Hauntzer and the rest of TSM together with that Galio in the team fight, that can be deadly. But what you got to be careful of, let's remember the sins committed by Immortals yesterday in their game versus Envy. You can't just have a Galio and start forcing all these crazy fights because you think, okay, Galio will be there. You've still got to make sure that you've got a square head on your shoulders and you're thinking.
Exactly.
Head square on your shoulders, something like that.
I'm really interested to see how this plays out because the team fight right now from TSM overwhelmingly in their favor until super late game, but they're still going to have to go through this gigantic beefy Galio that can build magic resistance and feel okay about it after his first item, because Varus does percent HP magic damage, Cassiopeia magic damage, Elise magic damage. Build for your matchup early, get something like an Iceborne Gauntlet after triple Dorans and against the Renekton, and then just go into Abyssal Scepter, get your AP, get your magic resist going. And
hey, it's an Abyssal Mask now, Zirene.
Ah, you're right.
Gotta remember those icon updates. It's nice and flashy looking. They had to change it around a bit, but Hauntzer definitely has reason to prioritize some magic resist after the initial part of the game. Like you said, you can't just build straight magic resistance into Renekton. You're going to get bopped. So a little bit of armor early on, and then the magic resist machine can come online.
The Abyssal Scepter, though, the Abyssal Mask, that's the thing I probably adjust to the slowest, is getting those names down again. I still call Talisman of Ascension, Shirelius.
The Shirelius Reverie? Yeah, man, old school names. Old school
Rip Heart of Gold.
I still miss Spirit of the Elder Lizard, the old jungle item that Ezreal ruined for everyone. Still salty about that one, man. But and TSM.
Then he ruined Runic Echoes.
Yeah, every jungle item somehow gets ruined by Ezreal. It's just one of those tricks of League of Legends. It's a thing. You don't chase Singed, and you don't have a new jungle item without Ezreal messing it up somehow.
Play test it with Ezreal. That's what I'm gonna do. It's on the wall. Anyway.
TSM and Dignitas both out onto the field for time number 2. Kind of taking those defensive positions, watching the entrances to the jungles, nobody really wanting to tempt fate with anything too daring at level 1. Winds of War find their way towards Ssumday, who's happy spamming some animations. Clearly still in the same frame of mind as when he bought 6 tears and a clairvoyance trinket.
Tears of happiness and tears of joy. And Ssumday has been having an incredible split so far. He's dominated most of the games that they've had on Dignitas, and even that last one was still a really good game for him. Did the most damage in the game without too much of a poke pattern going his way. It was mostly all in.
And the 2 times we saw him get into some big fights and some deaths, he had the 1 versus 2 bottom lane where he managed to walk away with a kill despite, you know, being in a situation where he knows he's dead to rights. And then in that final fight, he's the one who goes over the wall, says, "Remember me," and seals that fight for his team.
Nothing personnel, kid. Jumps in,
teleports behind you. Dignitas, though, they're the ones who are now 1 game away from taking this series, taking down, again, who a lot of people think is the #1 team in North America in Summer Split 2017. And what a hell of a statement to make if you can do that in week number 2.
Oh, yeah, and Dignitas fans were hopefully optimistic. They were like sitting around going, okay, so this roster, what's going to happen? You just benched Dig Special and now you have Big. But communication is something that's so hard to look at and value from the outside because you don't hear the comms. You don't actually know the attitude that they have towards each other. And when you have something like this going on where you can see that the team is having better teleports, better team fights, not throwing, playing proactively instead of reactively. It's a big shift for Dignitas that you cannot deny.
And a lot of times it is so difficult to measure. You talk about it, and it's an intangible resource, right? You look at what wins you a game of League of Legends, there's a lot of things you can count. I'm looking at a scoreboard right now with kills, deaths, assists, farm, items, all these things we can measure. There's not a scoreboard for who has the right calls, who's got a shot caller, who's got team morale where it needs to be so you don't get too tilted after you have a bad game. All those things can factor in just as much as the hard physical elements similar to the farm, the kills, the deaths. It's all just as important.
Or even the person who just had the game sense to make that Baron call and not be afraid to do it, right? Those types of things. You can, like you said, the scoreboard will have those kills, deaths, and assists, but they won't have the Baron calls that were right.
Right. That's always the thing that gets you the most. It's like one of the times where you go into the enemy jungle, you bait them out, your team ends up getting 3 kills, but you don't even get any assists for it because you didn't hurt the guys that got baited in, but you know it was all you.
It's all you. That's part of being shot callers.
They call it the fields of justice, but sometimes you don't feel like there's enough justice in the world, Zirene. Right now, TSM looking for some justice of their own after game number 1. A loss that was not expected by a lot of the fans. Remember, we can go back to that fan vote, 81 to 19. 4 out of 5 people thinking TSM would walk away with a win in this series. It's still entirely possible. Dignitas will have to beat them this second time if they want to lock this one down. Biofrost trying to jump in there on Shrimp as he counter jungles. He lands from the rappel.
Now he
gets CC onto Biofrost, who has to pop the flash. Good job sidestepping the winner's bite. Means the TSM's bottom lane will both survive to walk away. But Dignitas invading and getting some extra resources.
Shrimp paying attention to this bottom side of the map here and making sure that his bottom lane is set up. Right now, he's in a position to at least get some damage on that turret, just chip damage very slightly. But you want to go back. You want to set up for your jungle camps because his Raptors will now spawn at about 4 minutes and then 20 seconds.
And you got to be on top of those. We know how much junglers like to steal those away if they know you're not hanging around there. But
speaking of hanging
Shrimp
around,
actually knowing that Biofrost doesn't have flash, seeing if maybe there's a chance to hang around and do something here. Remember, you don't have an instant stun like with Bard on the Braum.
Oh, top lane though.
Ssumday taunted up. He gets the heal, but it's still not going to do a ton. Call of the Meek.
How long has he been there?
Just yet. DoubleLift now. He's the one forced to flash away. Soon find his way onto Biofrost. They've got split focus. It's DoubleLift who's ultimately the call. Big trying to get away, but TSM will make the outplay. Now they're on the assault. Seeing if they can chase this down any further, they'll back away, but they find exactly what they needed to find.
Way too aggressive there from Shrimp. He's going to lose his Raptors now, too. So this puts him so far behind when you lose your second Raptor camp, and then Sven will be able to pick up his own on top of it. Those chickens are gone.
You lose your chickens, you lose your support. Everything went awry there, and you saw the split focus. There was damage going into Double. There was damage going into Bio. It's like Dignitas wasn't on the same page, and there's those intangibles.
And I think Biofrost really just outplayed there. They were still kind of hesitant of, hey, Shrimp wants to hang around here. Look at this, though. Catches him out.
It's like, hey, you took my chickens.
Yeah,
Come here. Oh, nice flash away from the rappel range to make sure that Shrimp can't find the follow.
Getting summoner spells, though, so Shrimp doing some work, though, still has his own. But watch this. Watch how Biofrost plays this on Rakan, because you're going to see Big go in, flash, autos DoubleLift. They're going for DoubleLift, the guy who still has flash. But then Biofrost, W knocks up Big in range and hits Lod so the damage doesn't continue, and then that's what gets Big killed. So they focused the dude who still had flash instead of the mobile guy. So they were saying Rakan is able to just get out with 2 E's, and they didn't want to go after him.
Unfortunate call for Dignitas, but TSM knowing exactly how to handle the situation. Yeah. This is why a lot of people think this is a top-tier team.
Yeah, but it's also like, why would you go for that play, Shrimp?
Yeah.
Like, if the call isn't go for the guy who doesn't have flash because he's too mobile, then just go do your topside jungle. Go back, go get your mobility boots, go topside jungle. That was something that was too aggressive, and they felt like they could exploit the bottom lane. But they'd already done that twice in the previous game.
Bjergsen just farming up still here in the mid lane. Very similar story to what we saw last time. Big needs to back away here. A lot of TSM guys hanging around. Doesn't want to give away any more free money. TSM got to be feeling good after that initial lead, after that turnaround.
And when we talk about how like the meta had shifted like a year ago, and it was like jungle mid synergy, and then it was jungle support synergy for how much or how important it is to actually get your wards down. We saw there a 3-man warding group to hold on top lane. Hauntzer could be dead here.
That's a big gator with a lot of fury. Hauntzer, though, a heroic exit will take him over to mid lane and the waiting safe arms of Bjergsen.
Ssumday literally had 1 second left on his W before he could stun him there. So Hauntzer made it out just barely.
Hauntzer happy to be getting away from that one. Plus, that's the ultimate expended from Ssumday, so a little bit less threat, a little bit less pressure from him for the next 90 seconds or so until that's back up and running, as DoubleLift and Biofrost have found themselves a decent spot here in bottom lane after that outplay earlier.
Yeah. But all summoner spells pretty much down in terms of mobility in the bottom side of the map. Big about to have his exhaust, Biofrost about to have his ignite. His flash will also come up soon as well.
Interesting thing, it is exhaust versus ignite there in that bottom lane.
Yeah.
And normally, you only are seeing the exhaust against high-power assassins in the current state of the game, just because of after the nerfs, a lot of times you want the ignite, you want the kill pressure, you want to be able to stop the healing and things like that as well. But Big opting for that exhaust this game.
I like this as well. That just happened in the jungle. Svenskeren taking that blue away from Keane, and now he's sitting around waiting, saying he's stronger than this Elise, and when he gets the jump on Shrimp, what's going to happen? Shrimp, Moby Boots, walking in, wards it before he even checks.
Gets the cocoon. Damage comes down, but you got to remember, Svenskeren has an ulti. Repel up into the air, Shrimp comes down. Got to be careful though. The rest of the team is here. Sonic Wave not connecting. Sven a little bit too far forward. Keane takes a bite out of him, and now a stun onto Biofrost. Flash. They're trying to get away if they can. Bjergsen's there, but he's got no mana. The piercing arrow not finding the mark. Big's not taking that blast.
Yeah,
just a little bit too much meme.
Little bit too much there. Didn't use the exhaust as well, kind of got there a little bit later. But yeah, Rakan able to get out from such good range. And they collapsed. That was actually really good game sense as well from Shrimp, saying somebody's got to be here, right? Somebody's got to be here.
He knew to ward it.
Like, they actually didn't give away the blue to Bjergsen in the mid lane and gave it to Svenskeren because they didn't want to give away the position of Svenskeren. If Taliyah comes over, takes the blue, you know Lee Sin was just on your bottom side. So Shrimp just says they're playing like he could be here, and also the fact that, well, I haven't been on the side in a long time. I had to back after my red. Comes in and places the ward first, and then has the quick reaction to throw down the cocoon. That was really well played.
So close to getting that second kill onto Biofrost as well, but Dignitas will have to be happy with just tying this game up. Bjergsen on Taliyah, a 24.0 KDA
two games
so far in spring. Yeah, but we can still talk about how big that number is.
That was in spring, you know.
Cassiopeia, Keane's Cassiopeia only has a 4.2. That's like 1/6.
11 games, 11 games.
Still. We can still have a little bit of fun with it. Bjergsen definitely knows how to keep those KDA stats nice and pretty on this champion, though. Had a couple of big smashing successes on it in spring. Now, can he do it still in summer? 2 Doran's rings under his belt, the only thing so far. Meanwhile, his opponent, again, stacking up that tier on the Cassiopeia, getting the stack Ssumday, walking up into Hauntzer. Taunt's not going to do a whole lot there.
Yeah, and as Renekton, the way you play this matchup is you just push and you just try to play the sustain game. Trade with the Galio, and you'll be like, oh, the Renekton lost that trade, but then he eventually just heals himself back up. Galio doesn't have a heal in his kit. It's one of the reasons that he loses those sustain matchups come the mid-game.
Plus, that magic damage shield isn't going to do a lot for him against the pure physical damage of Ssumday's Renekton. I believe that the damage from Ssumday's ult
that's
is
the only
actually
thing.
magic damage. That's the only thing that's going to do anything to the Galio shield. You do 41 damage a second currently with that Renekton ultimate if you're Ssumday.
Oh,
TSM,
yeah.
seeing if they can find something here.
Watch out for Biofrost ulti!
Keane making his way into the fight, trying to turn this one around. Bjergsen going to be forced to flash. TSM in retreat. Neither side walking away with anything from that one.
Yeah, what TSM were looking for there is they knew that Keane and Shrimp didn't have their flashes, so they were looking for a recombo with the level 6 of Biofrost to just lock them up, but they end up not getting it fast enough. They go for a little bit of an overreach there, and now Dig was trying to get around Bjergsen in mid lane. Ooh, they're trying to get the spirit.
Came very close, but not quite where they needed it. Galio ulti coming in just to make sure they can maintain this tier 1. While DoubleLift takes down turret First Blood in the bottom part of the map. TSM getting the better part of that rotation.
Yeah, top lane turret's going to take some damage now, and then we're going to have to reset. But, like I said, TSM had that advantage of having that first turret gold.
Extra money in TSM pockets. A lot of fans here happy to see that one happening. Hoping TSM can be where they need to be going towards this mid-game. 12 minutes in. Laning phase won't be lasting terribly longer, especially with that first turret going down. Just like we mentioned last game, Zirene, first turret goes down. That is the green light for bigger rotational play to start happening. The bottom laners will go towards the top side. You can see gambits towards the Drake, potentially towards the Rift Herald now as well. Sky's the limit. Especially when you've got the playmaking potential behind something like what you mentioned with the Rakambo.
Yeah, just making sure that you can throw that down and then have the Galio ulti on top of that, but they didn't have anything like that. He had used it previously. Actually used it in the fight, but not exactly where you would want it. But just looking at how things have been going in this game and what they're doing now is Dignitas are swapping their Renekton to the bottom side of the map. Their weak side without a turret and with Drake still up, but nobody's really interested in the Ocean Drake at the moment where you could get lane pressure and can go for some better pushes. So they're trying to keep their one-on-ones and two-on-twos intact, because if you just have that Renekton top lane, like, just think about it, if you don't swap it as Dignitas, you have a Renekton versus a pushing duo lane, and then what's your duo lane against? A Galio with triple Doran's Ring who just throws a Q and clears the
Yeah, he casts Winds of War, the minions all die, and
exactly.
you don't really get anywhere.
So it's the appropriate rotation from Dignitas to go into a lane that they may eventually lose this turret just by inevitability standpoint of the matchup of what just happened down bottom.
But it'll be slower.
It'll be slower. You have time to make some plays, maybe pick up something on the other side of the map, or make a play on this top side. But yeah, you definitely don't want to be in that situation where you are actually just hemorrhaging turret damage because of the Galio being able to wave clear.
And you know, there was a lot of discussion around Xayah when she first came out about what you want to do in terms of maxing the skills and doing the item builds. What you're seeing from DoubleLift right now has pretty much shown itself to be the most powerful option. With going for the crit build, you can see the Essence Reaver pieces there in his inventory, as well as maxing the Blade Caller to make sure that when he hits those feathers and brings back that root, it does so much damage. It makes it such a problem to try to chase after the Xayah, because you know as you're running past those feathers, eventually they're all going to get called back, and you're going to be stuck in a really hard spot.
Yeah, hold on though, look at that.
All right, Biofrost going in. Both junglers going to be showing up to this fight as well. Big going to be kicked back with the stun, and the damage comes down onto Sven, who's now going to be taken down as Shrimp flashes himself away. TP's showing up, Hauntzer comes in, and snipes Big out with the Winds of War. The flash from Lod will not be enough today. He's going to be brought down by DoubleLift, and TSM will 2 for 1 so far, but it's not going to be over just yet. 2 for 2. Dignitas clean up the top lane.
And they're going to start getting some turret damage on this top lane turret, whereas Ssumday pushing mid, looking for that farm. Hauntzer tried to get out there, but he got interrupted and wasn't able to actually get off the hero's entrance. So Ssumday will be alone with this turret for a bit.
Meanwhile, the Lizard Wizard casts a spell on the mid lane tier 1 turret, seeing if he can beat this one down in time. Keane throwing out that miasma to clear out these waves, make sure TSM gets nothing else in the top side. And taking out this turret should pretty much equalize the gold yet again, telling a very similar story to what we saw in game number 1.
Exactly. Also, it's the mid lane, so it means a lot if you can keep that Taliyah away from those side lane roams. Didn't have vision here, but knew some people were roaming. Got the charm, not on Taliyah though. Only hits Big with the charm. And then it's the kickback. Doesn't kill Big right off the bat, and then Shrimp gets the stun there, and they get the kill onto Svenskeren. And then right there, just barely. I believe Big also has flash there, but wasn't expecting that much damage from him. Then the follow-up, take out Lod, and then right here, another Cocoon just hits him. And then he gets grounded anyway on top of it. The grounded would have interrupted it.
There we go. Finally, a little bit of attention being paid towards the Drake. Svenskeren will pick that first one up for his team. And TSM gets bonus regeneration, and Infernal Drake will be spawning just shy of 21 minutes. Dignitas taking the opportunity, seeing that message that the dragon's been slain. They decide to focus efforts on the Rift Herald.
Yep, Infernal Drake next as well. So having this Rift Herald is going to be very important. Could lead to a gold advantage right before that Infernal Drake comes up. We'll see who picks this up, assuming Shrimp. I mean, I think back in the day, Shrimp was the guy who always picked up old Rift Herald.
Yeah.
We always wanted
You
it.
talked about him being a carry-style player, being the kind of guy who would take the kills, take the lane farm, everything else. Why not take the Herald too?
Yeah, he was all about getting the fast back. This is back when it was the one that was like a temporary buff for movement speed and stuff too. Fast back, get back to clearing your jungle, keep going, keep cycling. And so Shrimp really just values being on the map. And once again, 100% kill participation in the early game for this guy.
1-0-2 on the Elise, no deaths, despite what we saw earlier with Svenskeren camping out in his jungle. That game sense that we talked about, Shrimp knowing how to be in the right place at the right time and even smell when something seems a little bit off. Haunting Guy is going to be the second item coming out for this Elise. Sometimes you see Elises get a bit tankier, but usually you will see more of a bruiser type build like this. The magic penetration goes a long way, making sure those percent damage values really have a kick behind.
Yeah, and when you're up against 2 squishies, 3 squishies, it feels really good. And especially during the early game where Elise is just kind of going to try to thrive. That's really where you want to just apply the pressures. Early Haunting Guys for that penetration. That's why he got the mobility boots as well. Values being out on the map and having that early pressure. He has some scaling carries.
One big difference I'm noticing right now between those carries, Lod still sort of fumbling around here with the pieces of a Blade of the Ruined King. Meanwhile, DoubleLift, he's got the Essence Reaver completed. He's got the Zeal with it. Starting to get real scary on the Xayah.
Lod's down 1,400 gold right now behind DoubleLift, so he's in a pretty bad spot, whereas Shrimp up about 800 himself, top lane 300, and that's really where this gold is kind of becoming even, is that mid lane as well on top, with 700 up for Keane because of the kills.
And what you were talking about earlier during Champion Select Zirene is showing very true right now with Hauntzer. You can see the 3 Dorian's rings into the first armor item, going for that Sunfire Cape, the early lane presence. Usually the extra AoE damage. Dignitas, they're not going to be able to collapse into TSM here, but the Mercury treads on Hauntzer, some extra magic resistance there, CC resistance too, knowing what all he's up against, expect to see more MR be built.
Exactly. Expecting the Abyssal Mask to come through as his next item. We'll see. It doesn't help him against Ssumday though, and if Ssumday is just trying to be a split push monster, and Hauntzer trying to team fight, depends. Are you playing towards your style or are you playing towards his style? Because it'll make it easier for Ssumday to actually split push if you buy Abyssal Mask.
Right.
But it'll make it better for you to team fight. So you're kind of playing into both, and it does look like what he's going to do there.
Yeah, you've got to be very mindful about letting your opponents play their game too hard. Yep. If you just always opt into the way they want to play, naturally their champions are going to be better suited to play that kind of a game. Look at that damage. I'm always surprised to see just how much a full HP Rift Herald hurts those darn things.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to get this, though. The TP from Hauntzer's coming through.
They'll stop it in time.
Not a huge wall, but
Bjergsen has to pop the cleanse, but now the quickness comes in, and Dignitas is annihilated. 2 down instantly. And Hauntzer will grab the kill credit onto Big. 2-1 and 2 on this Galio. TSM strike back.
TSM don't lose that top turret, and they get the Rakan engage off, followed by the Galio ultimate. Lod even got looped in there, too. Flash wasn't up for a few more seconds, so Ssumday's going to try to make something happen here. He'll have TP advantage.
Every time the camera's been on Ssumday in the last 5 minutes, he's smacking one of these turrets.
Right, his team's dead, right? And what is he supposed to do?
That's kind of the problem. You might be smacking a turret, you're 0-0 and 0. Yeah, you're 25 farm up on your opponent, but he's 2-1 and 2. He's been a part of 4 out of 5 of their kills.
I mean, that's how the composition wants to play. TSM's is quick collapse, quick engage, very snappy here. I think it's really good. Look at Biofrost, out of vision in a control ward. They don't see this engage really coming from this distance, but then you'll watch him snap to DoubleLift for the 1,000 range, goes in, then he gets cocooned, and it's like, oh, we're actually been set up this whole time. Goes in, knock back there onto Lod, flash R from Biofrost with the W, and then he just scoops up Lod as well and makes sure that he can grab him.
And what you mentioned there, especially about Xayah, for those of you who don't know, remember that when Rakan leaps and shields an ally, it goes way further towards Xayah than it would anyone else.
So normal range is 500, but then it's 1,000. It's actually doubled when you're with Xayah. And the E, the battle dance, always puts you on the opposite side of the person from when you cast it, so you'll end up in front of her. So it's actually about a 1,100 range when you use it from max.
Which gives you a lot of gap closing potential to make sure you can get in with those quicknesses and those knockouts.
And it's also kind of an interesting mechanic, because if you're going for an engage as Rakan, you E to Xayah, and then you're on the other side of her. So you're even further ahead than you would have been normally. And if you use it to retreat, you just went in, and then you E to somebody to get out, you're on the other side of them.
So you always get that extra 100 distance with where you're trying to go.
And it's pretty crazy, too, because it's great for engages, and it's great for disengages if you want to get out or you messed up.
1,500 gold lead for the boys from TSM, stealing away that blue buff as well, giving that over to Bjergsen, who's got his Leandri's Torment and Sorcerer's Shoes up and running. We mentioned Shrimp building the magic penetration against Squishies, as Chains of Corruption find their way onto Bio, but it's now Sven who's going to be cocooned. Damage coming out, Bio trying to turn things around, the Grand Entrance looking for a knockup, quickness used, but not finding a lot of success. Hauntzer now behind Dignitas. Big and Ssumday having to back away from this one, maybe trying to find an opportunity to go back in here. Keane wants to slither around and get some damage, but he's not healthy enough, he's not safe enough to go in for that.
And I'm looking at this Braum pick into Xayah a little bit more. When his shield is up, Xayah's feathers just hit the ground in front of him, so you won't get passed through ever. So the shield will really stop the Xayah from doing what she wants and having that Blade Caller route, because it won't be behind.
Right, because we talk about the Blade Caller and how effective that is, how that's Xayah's big tool. It's one reason why Essence Reaver is so good as well. Gives her the cooldown reduction, makes it so more Blade Callers can happen more frequently. But if the Blade Callers are all in front of everybody, they don't really do anything.
Exactly.
They will take that Infernal Drake, though, for TSM. Elemental Dragon number 2.
And right now, Lod is just so far behind. He was behind in gold. He's barely picked up any CS. He's now down 2,300 gold, 2,200. around that area. And he's a huge part of this gold deficit right now. And this bottom lane, just in general, they're all the deaths right now for Dignitas.
Yeah, not the best game for these two so far. Big, who we talked about him having a good game there in game number 1. Finished game number 1, 0-3-7. He has already caught up to the amount of deaths he had in that game.
No more allowed.
So gonna have to be a little bit more careful with the situations he's putting himself in. It always seems to be him and Lod that catch themselves as the ones punished when TSM turns these fights around.
Yeah, and it just seems to be something where that early fight is one that I want to call back to, because that really set up DoubleLift and Biofrost to win that lane. When they're able to get a kill in a 2-on-3, because Shrimp forced that so hard, and Shrimp lost his topside jungle, just a little bit of it, not too much.
I mean, in pro play,
pretty bad.
You never want to give away a kill in an even fight, right? You never want to be dying 1 versus 1 or 2 versus 2. So to die in an uneven fight that's actually against you, that's really, really...
That's when you know you made a big mistake.
Yeah. To bring that extra body down there, remove all that other potential pressure from around the map, and still come out behind. Ooh. As the chains of corruption fly out, don't find their way onto the mark this time. Lod's going to have to focus those up a little bit.
Yeah, and also Lod very close to level 11. He's been down 2 levels, so that's actually the 110-second cooldown chain of corruption instead of his next rank up, which will take a little bit off that CD. But they're just looking for a pick right there. And even now, DoubleLift, look at his item build. Went for a QSS on top of having the Feather Storm, so he has 2 ways to really dodge or get out of CC.
Wants to make sure that if he gets caught ever, it's not that big of a deal. One of the big loss conditions for this team is Double would get caught out. He would get bursted down before he could use that ult or get himself back to the safety of his team. If you remove that loss condition, all of a sudden Dignitas' fights go from hard to very, very difficult. But meanwhile, they grab the kill onto Bjerg. Biofrost barely getting himself away. From behind, it's Ssumday wanting to cut these guys off. A slice, a dice, and he's looking real nice, but he won't get the kill. Woo. Biofrost dashing away with the quickness, barely living.
Oh, that was single-digit HP there. And he gets the shield from Svenskeren.
Meanwhile, though, Dignitas is saying, hey,
Baron?
Bjergsen's dead. Biofrost can't really participate. Go Baron. You've got Cassiopeia again. You've got a Blade of the Ruined King AD carry.
You can't be engaged on by something like the Rakan right now. This is super risky, but they're going to go for it. Got to watch out for DoubleLift damage.
DoubleLift putting down a lot of damage. There comes your Feather Storm. More going to be bursting down. Hauntzer's out of there. Ssumday continuing to zone. More damage coming out from DoubleLift. Baron still below 2K. Can they secure this? Yes, they can. Biofrost having a dash out, and Dignitas will grab not only that big objective, but also Hauntzer's life.
All they did was kill Bjergsen, and then they got Biofrost to abandon and back up, and they got themselves the Baron. That was a great call from Dignitas there. The catch from Shrimp. Shrimp with the cocoon on Bjergsen over the wall from Fog of War, and then they lose that turret, but Ssumday's already flanking, looking to get in, gets the pass through E, the flash, and then this shield stops the Q from being full damage there.
And people sometimes talk about Elise Zirene, saying how she's so good in the early game, but as the game goes on, she turns into more of a cocoon bot.
Speaking of cocoon bot,
yeah, sometimes a cocoon bot is what you need because you can make so many big plays and catches if you can land those.
Hauntzer went in.
TSM in enemy territory. Hauntzer going to be tanking. That's the guy you want on the front line, though. You got to be careful going up against Dignitas with a fresh Baron buff. Chains of corruption over the wall. Going to be locking down the back line. But the damage comes through, and Keane goes down. It's 1-for-1 so far. Hauntzer still just tanking.
They're kicking
the ball cuts him off. TSM will rout Dignitas and find 2 more.
Beautiful Weaver's Wall from Bjergsen there to finish off the fight in their favor, and they'll push bottom lane.
That is how you do it. The Weaver's Wall perfectly blocking that path and saying, you got Baron, so what? Let's take some turrets, let's flex those muscles and take these fights.
And that fight was super risky at the start. It looked like Svenskeren was just hell-bent on getting a combo off on Keane, getting a kickback on him, but then what happened was he had to blow the Banshee's Veil first. It took him long to do it, but then when he got it, he kicks Keane into the team, and they had already buffered abilities on him. So as we watch this go out, They've already used the W from Rakan, so they can't really re-engage here. The surprising part is the TP comes through, but they're split. The W's channeled correctly, and then Keane comes through on the side, and he's zoning the damage here. But then Svenskeren, you can see, wanted to kick him back, gets the kickback, but the abilities are already buffered. Even though you see the stun land on Bjergsen, he already had the seismic shove and the E coming out, and then right there, just another hit from Hauntzer, and just they can't get through.
Exactly what they needed it to be.
Gandalf lives.
Dignitas, they were feeling so good after grabbing that Baron, but now TSM has taken the driver's seat once again, pushing up mid lane.
We say the driver's seat, but it's really kind of a tandem car still, because they still have Baron for 50 seconds. The gold, only 400 between them. TSM, I don't think they're really in the driver's seat. They're shotgun with the map right now telling you where to go, but Dignitas really have the wheel.
Dignitas deciding to go ahead and pull on over towards that Mountain Drake, see if they can pick themselves up their first Elemental Drake of the game. TSM wanting to stop that as rapidly as they can. Grounding Svenskeren as he walks through Miasma. That was not the right decision.
That was what I was going with. Come on.
No.
He walks through the Miasma and just smites it. He doesn't have to Q. He doesn't have to W. That was like Svenskeren's. It was a great day for him, just strolling up, having a stroll through the river.
Not the right way to go about doing that for Dignitas. Svenskeren's just like, all right, we're going for a stroll. He gets what he wanted.
Yeah, I mean, he's 0-4-5 right now. He's been doing a good job in kill participation, but a lot of these plays are costing his life. That one there costs his life, but it's worth it because that Mountain Drake means the objectives just fall into the hand of Dignitas, and it puts them at 3 Drakes on TSM side to 0 still for Dig.
More objective control for TSM going forward. Dignitas still just kind of waiting, seeing if they can get themselves any of those rewards. Second Infernal Drake will be the final Elemental Drake this game, as a measly 964 gold is the Baron power play result for Dignitas after taking that last Baron buff.
Yeah, and we're pretty much to even again. Looking at the items coming out, Titanic Hydra, a little more team fight from Ssumday, and then he also has a Guardian Angel now. So
that much harder to kill.
Yeah, wants that AD. But DoubleLift is the person that you really have to watch out for, because TSM, they've been catching Bjergsen a few times. They've been able to blow up Svenskeren, but DoubleLift is the guy that's going to have so much peel from the Rakan. He's going to have multiple shields. He's got a QSS. He's got the Feather Storm. He has Warlord's Bloodlust. He has so many ways to kind of heal himself up, avoid what you want to do. And then your AD carry is actually about 3,000 gold behind him. DoubleLift has the most in the game. DoubleLift is the most fed member out of anybody here.
Big blue mountain range with a couple of red puddles in it there for the gold difference versus time. Dignitas, although they're currently ahead in gold, it's by 100.
But I like how you see the upper limit of this graph. 2,000 around that range, it hasn't even peaked past that.
Right.
Nobody's had more than a 1,500-ish gold lead at any one time in this game.
And you know, a lot of the times you can see a game, well, the first game in a series, I should say, start off very close like game number 1 was that we saw here, and then the rest of the games end up very lopsided. This is the second time in a row these teams have shown that they are very evenly matched. A Weaver's Wall blocking off Dignitas from getting in there. Chains of Corruption finding their way into the rest of TSM's lines. Ssumday wants to go. If he can, Redemption will be called down to make sure TSM stays healthy. Dignitas now not having to worry about that wall, can move forward and try to continue to hold this. Shrimp getting the stun into the damage. Biofrost going in. This is going to be your fight, ladies and gentlemen. Big turnaround, but Biofrost falls now too. Ssumday barely getting himself back as Keane tries to chase, but will be rooted up and can't go any further. Repel from Shrimp. He'll land back down. Might just get squashed. Instead gets away thanks to the flash. Dignitas continuing to defend. 1 for 1.
And they just trade supports back and forth there. Still, gold, pretty much even. Baron in 1 minute. It's set
so up. Much could change the outcome of these fights. One little misclick, one little outplay could do everything. Another look at exactly the way that transpired.
Cocoon hits onto Svenskeren on the left side, but that's kind of just bait. Biofrost went in and only got the charm on Big on the way out. He tried to reach Keane and Laud, who were standing away from each other, and he didn't get either of them. And then he battle danced out and caught Big on the way out, but it cost both their lives as Keane gets the Petrifying Gaze off for the counter. And actually in the top lane, just looking at Hauntzer, didn't actually go for the Abyssal Mask, went for the Spirit Visage as his first item. Abyssal Mask may be in the works for him though, because he does have that Null Magic, or sorry, the Negatron Cloak.
Important thing to note as well, Ssumday walked away with just a sliver of HP from that team fight.
Still had GA.
Guardian Angel still up. He still has that second life for the next fight that breaks out, which could be huge and potentially game-changing, depending on how it all goes. Svenskeren eating a little damage as Dignitas has the inside track on the mid lane here. They've zoned their opponents away for now. The DoubleLift's damage has become so extreme with the Essence Reaver, Infinity Edge, Runans. You're looking at 70% crit multiplied with that Infinity Edge multiplier. Very threatening if he gets free firing time, but it's so hard to shut him down from doing that when, like you mentioned earlier, he has the QSS, he has the Featherstorm.
Exactly. He's also highest gold in the game, and he's got 1,300 gold on his person right now. But I'm looking at Lod's items, and he's down an item and a half, almost a full item at this point, and he also got Lord Dominic's Regards, and we'll just go through who that's going to help him against. HP, some armor for Hauntzer. HP, no armor for Svenskeren, just the cloth. HP for Bjergsen, but then pretty much nobody else is really running anything else either. So he'll get that increased damage of the Giant Slayer part of it, but he's not really shredding too much armor here.
Right.
There's only one full armor item completed for anybody across the board, and I'm even counting Ninja Tabis this time too.
TSM falling back towards Baron, kiting away. Again, when you've got Xayah, when you've got Galio, when you've got Taliyah, you have the ability to kite backwards, to make your opponents have a hell of a hard time chasing into you if they want to engage. And you have plenty of counter engage of your own. Again, with that Galio and Rakan together, can immediately turn things around from a long range. TSM has all the tools they may need to take a fight, but Dignitas very scary too. Biofrost. Oh. The moon doesn't find the mark though. Galio ulti comes out. Ssumday getting away. He's injured, but he's still all right. TP is available.
Like you said, the Cocoon actually didn't make contact with Biofrost when he was stunned from the Renekton. Bjergsen's going to try to pick off
no,
Shrimp.
for Shrimp, this is trouble.
Is he
He's going to be caught on the wrong side of the wall. Big tries to save him, instead gives his own life. A killing spree, though, as again, it's support for support. Lod picking up Biofrost there as TSM stays on Baron. Dignitas wanting to try to interrupt this. Lod's way far up, and he is almost going to be taken down instead. It's now time for Dignitas to open up the firing line. Hauntzer's in some trouble. DoubleLift going to be taken real low. Ssumday right back into the fight. Hauntzer dropping low. He is down as Keane moves forward. Has to pop the shield. Not going to be getting anything with the ultimate. TSM still in retreat. And Dignitas will barely take that fight.
I gotta say, Dignitas are playing these fights so well, especially from Ssumday. Ssumday and Keane in these fights are pretty disgusting. Ssumday just jumped into the back line with the tankiness that he has purchased. It's not that much, but the tankiness to damage ratio he has is something that's pretty disgusting when he's in that back line. You saw him dive into 4 people and almost kill one of them. This was so good too.
That wall.
Shrimp's on the other side. You think nope, time to throw him on the Barbie. He's done. Gets over onto the ward there. Just barely gets pushed out on the other side. Big jumped in to protect him. That's the support. That's the support.
That's a my heart will go on moment. Right there.
If the support dies, it's over. But Dig on that Feral Drake. Don't let him walk up. Don't let him do it again.
All right, they stop the walk up this time. They'll keep him away. That's the final elemental Drake of the game. It's going to even up that damage bonus for Dignitas with TSM. They're still down an Ocean and an Earth Drake. But Elder's now on the table. That thing that ended game number 1.
You got to find some time in these next few moments for Lod to back. He's sitting on 2,200 gold. DoubleLift just purchased his Mercurial Scimitar and has actually just used all of the gold in his inventory. If you look at just how much they've purchased, Lod has only purchased 10,000 gold worth of items, whereas DoubleLift has purchased 15,000 gold worth of items. 150%.
Substantial difference between those two right now. Mercurial Scimitar done means that much more base damage there for DoubleLift. Means that much heavier crits. Ssumday putting the stun on a Hauntzer, but that's not the guy you want to be stunning up and focusing. They're putting so much effort into this TSM tank. But he just gets himself up into the air and out of trouble.
Yeah, but it makes them lose control now of the Baron area as they have to reset, go back, and stagger their backs a little bit. Lod will back for mana and spend, which I was talking about. They need to find a window for him to do it. Sells the Doran's shield, gets himself parts of Infinity Edge, and he's still over 1,100 gold away from completing that item.
TSM walking the line right now between potentially taking this to game number 3 or getting 2-0'd by Dignitas. couldn't ask for a much closer series between these two Zirene.
Dig do have the Scuttle Crab, so they see the attacks going in. This is super fast. They have that Mountain Drake. Shrimp trying to go in.
Already there. Svenskaren's going to kick him away to make sure that that goes to TSM. Now, can Dig do anything? Do they want to do anything right here?
They have that top lane wave. Do you back in this bush? No, they don't back in the bush. Some of them are
They're
trying.
just going to keep on going.
They have inside track.
They'll cut TSM off from their own tier 2 turret, beat that turret down. TSM is behind them. What a wacky situation it is as Dig continues to march forwards. This is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, but now it's going to be starting off. The stuns, the grounds, the taunts, the damage all into Dignitas lines as TSM will take control of the fight. Hauntzer chasing after. Svenskeren going to be jumping in now too. Another turret waiting. Dignitas drops 2. They get Biofrost yet again, but now the TP potentially coming in here from Hauntzer to cut these guys off. Shrimp with Dead Man's Plate should be able to scritter himself away from this. Cocoon comes out, stuns up Sven, and Dignitas' remaining members will live to see another day, but a Baroned up TSM is marching down mid lane.
Exactly, they're gonna get this turret. Keane has to clear that bottom wave because it's huge. If that gets Baroned up, you're done for. This middle wave, they're gonna be able to push in this turret and possibly get this inhibitor as well because these death timers, 10 seconds on Laud.
Laud not gonna be up for a little while, means inhibitor number 1 goes the way of TSM. They finally got one of those down 38 minutes in. Last game didn't even last this long. But TSM with a 2K gold lead, the extra map pressure from the inhib, feeling good. Let's take a look at this strange progression of events.
And you go back to Biofrost's career at the start, the Bard plays were just mind-blowing. And then also, he had those fresh plays in Challenger. This here, the recombo, the knock-up after the flash, RW, and then he had the Taliyah on top of it with the seismic shove. DoubleLift even throughout the Featherstorm for even more damage. They're just trying to combo there. And then the flashes to just get a little bit more. Big goes down again. And then the TP from Hauntzer. He was trying to Ssumday, but not today.
Dignitas, the team as a whole, has died 12 times. Big has died 7 of those times. An excessive amount of deaths so far on the support this game, but still contributing pretty well to the team overall. Locket of the Iron Solarian Redemption, so he's got those big team fight items, but Dignitas is now in probably one of the worst situations they've been in the entirety of the game. TSM feels truly in control.
Yeah, and especially DoubleLift, who has been untouched this game. Flame Horizon, Laud, he's up 6,000 gold over him. And this is just a decimating performance from DoubleLift this game. He's
full build
hard
now
to
too.
reach.
Full build now too. Mortal Reminder, the final item for DoubleLift to shred through any sort of tankiness on the side of Dignitas in terms of that Dead Man's Plate, the Guardian Angel, things like that. But inhibitor turret number 2, under some pressure. Mercurial Scimitar used there by DoubleLift to escape the chains of corruption.
And now they have to go 10 to that mid wave with Keane.
Winds of War flung out. TSM just hanging around that cannon minion, allowing it to get little plinks of damage into the turret. And here we go, TSM. The taunt comes out, they're pushing up, the turret's gonna fall. Ssumday forced to retreat. Braum ulti used, but what does it even accomplish? TSM continuing to walk forward, pressuring onto this second inhibitor. They'll find it no problem. They've got themselves a very attractive situation now with 2 enemy inhibitors down.
Like you were saying earlier about the driver's seat, now TSM firmly in the driver's seat, 4,000 gold advantage.
And Dignitas is in the trunk now.
They're just waiting to get dropped off.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, yo, let me off up here, just on the corner or something. It's fine, I'll walk.
Yeah, I tried to make that like PG. I didn't go to the dark place where it's like, they kidnapped him. What's going on? Still. Anyway, Dignitas, though, still in this game by some regards here. Abyssal Mask completed for Shrimp, so he's trying to kind of assist in the damage. And actually, Hauntzer went for the Gargoyle Stoneplate, so no Abyssal Mask in sight. Not trying to go for that item, just trying to be as durable as possible instead of assisting in damage, which has worked out for him because the damage dealers on his team are the ones who have all that gold.
13-14, crit number that popped up there as DoubleLift crit the red buff.
Yeah.
That is frightening.
Yeah, and this is why this build was just... Blade of the Ruined King got slightly nerfed, but this build is so good because Warlord's Blood is also going to heal you for a lot. Right here, Dig. Big went into the pit. They all are going into the pit.
Deja vu. This is what TSM tried last game, and they were punished. Dignitas now the ones who are going to be trying. Galio coming in, the stun onto Sven. But here comes the cavalry. It's Biofrost all over the place. Svenskeren drops first, but Dignitas seems to not be able to find any further options. There's no one to deal with DoubleLift. Keane still pretty healthy. Ssumday forced to flash back.
Yeah, what happened there, Ssumday dove onto DoubleLift to apply pressure. DoubleLift hasn't had the flash pretty much all game. I'm thinking about when I last saw him
just
flash.
Featherstorms.
It's been Featherstorm. It's been QSS to get away. He's been playing this right. Even when there's pressure on him, he's not panicking.
And even though TSM was the team that lost someone in that engage, it was only a one-death fight. They lost Svenskeren. They're the ones who look better off. They're the ones who are continuing to shove out the waves, take whatever they can afterwards, while Dig had to retreat. And now it's TSM back on Elder, and DoubleLift is just shredding this thing.
And Bjergsen went for the cutoff there with the Weaver's Wall. Oh, Shrimp
tries to do it instead. Repel is now popped, and the Spider is going to be squashed. TSM now with a 5 versus 4 for 55 seconds.
Definitely think an admirable effort there. You give that away, it's 3 elemental Drake Elder Dragon there for TSM. 2 inhibitors down. Your bottom turret just got squashed.
You have to try.
I feel like that's a you have to try situation because they're just going to try to close the game now as TSM in this next fight.
They've got all the tools they need to do it as well. A 7-0 Xayah with a Wrath Potion, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Bjergsen nearly full build as well. The only thing he could do is replace those control wards with something else. He's doing a ton of damage in his own right. All that's left is to put the final nails in this coffin, walk up, and in this game, take us to game number 3.
Yeah.
Dig needs a miracle.
If you're TSM, there's a few questions. Are you going to just clean it up right here, take those inhibitors and go? Or is it another time for a 30-second Baron? Because they could reset and go for the Baron. They have options because of the state of the map. Right now with Shrimp off of it, TSM just want to take these inhibs.
Let's take the one in the bottom lane, no contest. Trying to force the fight now. Hauntzer going to be made to back up. Svenskeren is too far forward. He's bursted down before anything else can happen, and all of a sudden the TSM push machine slams the brakes.
And this Elder Dragon is really just keeping TSM in now. They're going to try to push, flex their muscles here, but the inhibs will continually push. Svenskeren is down for 40 seconds, and Baron just spawned. They won't have a smite for this. If Dignitas have a way to shove their waves, and they can use their teleport or chase down, they may be able to get themselves a Baron and stay in this game longer. But look at that, Bjergsen just trying to stop them to buy time.
Remember how fast DoubleLift is going to do this.
Oh, there was one real...
actually insane how quickly he can burn this down. Shrimp does not want to let it go. We said that he had to go for the Elder Drake. He's pretty much got to go for this one too.
Is he going to go in?
Baron
going in. They're going to do it now.
Goes in. Looks like they're trying to start this up. A last chance desperation play.
Biofrost in.
Biofrost going to be jumping in. Keane popping the shield. Trying to stay alive. Big, nearly dead. Walking away. The burn takes him out. They get the kill on the support. They're going to find the kill onto the jungler. And TSM will 2 for 0 that fight.
So far ahead, they take the 4v5 and TSM come out on top.
TSM just slowly winning enough fights to win this game. Svenskaren's mistake in the enemy base will not be enough. Lod's out of position. Ssumday's out of position. Bjergsen taken down by Lod, but who cares? A double kill for DoubleLift, and we're going to game 3.
The ace to end it there in TSM. The crowd's going to do the talking for me.
Just bask in the crowd doing what they came here to do. We talked about the TSM fan base, how passionate they are for this team. They're happy to see this one go into game number 3, and it is going to be one hell of a show if we can learn anything from games number 1 and 2.
And that passion that just builds up, even the crowd is feeling it there, where that's a nail biter. Your team is down 1-0, and they're about to be shut out of this best of 3, and it's honestly, like I said, a nail biter. 1,000 gold difference was the maximum until about those 35, 38 minute marks. And that's where TSM really turned it on and got some key picks.
Some key picks and just fight after fight after fight. So many times we saw these fights have a 1-for-1 trade. It was just the supports thrown under the bus again and again and again and again. But ultimately, it was TSM that knew they could scale. They knew they had DoubleLift, that secret weapon, that new addition from an older time being brought back and repurposed to TSM once again. It's like Terminator. They brought him back. He wasn't an element, and now he's back in there.
Well, DoubleLift did do a really good job. Bjergsen slightly out-damaging him in it. But like I said, it's really just that scoreline of 10-0-5 for himself, having very high kill participation, but also Biofrost. Biofrost got them that first kill. He also got them a lot of those engages later on in the game, and it was really beautiful to watch him back on some playmakers.
Yeah, you look at DoubleLift's score, you think that's amazing, but Biofrost, it wouldn't have happened without him. Absolutely agree with you there. We've got our analyst standing by to break down that TSM win, though. Take it away, guys.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. It is now Mark and I, as we've got rid of Azale. He just
get rid
kept
of the
saying,
dead weight.
He's like, I want to call, I want to talk. Just kept saying it. I don't get it. Looking at this game, we'll start off with the composition, picks and bans. As always, TSM going back to this Galio comp, which in week 1 got him to a little bit of trouble.
Right, and you see them take the Galio early after they change up their bans, and Dignitas responds with Varus. Elise going bot side. This opens up the Rakan and Xayah after the Thresh is banned away. A lot of people consider that one of the worst matchups for the Rakan, and they end out the first round of the draft phase on the side of Dignitas, grabbing the Renekton counter pick. And basically what this is saying is, we're going to counter pick your top side unless you flex that Galio mid, which obviously TSM's willing to do it, but it doesn't seem to play to their strengths, and it wasn't super impressive last week when we saw that. So TSM sticks with the Galio top side and kind of puts Hauntzer in a bad spot because this is a kind of dangerous lane matchup. You see in the 1v1, Ssumday was almost able to get a solo kill once, you know, that small mistake of just missing that Justice Punch was all it took for Ssumday to say, I can potentially get an all in here. There wasn't a ton of jungler attention to the top side till later in the game, so luckily Hauntzer gets out mostly unpunished in this somewhat dangerous situation. And at the same time, Dignitas also throws a couple bans at mid lane because they wanted to get that Cassiopeia again. And obviously Ori Rakan, we've seen the crazy combination before. So overall, I like the idea for what Dignitas was doing in this draft phase. It felt like the execution might have been just a little bit off though.
The game as well, with Dignitas coming out with the game 1 win, they found themselves almost in a lead at times in this game. We'll check out a replay at 14 minutes that was TSM's with Dignitas responding here in the top side.
And you see Biofrost trying to kick things off early on, misses that engage a little bit, and well played by Shrimp here. He held his cocoon until after because he doesn't want to try and throw it at the Rakan who's going to be going in and out, finds it on the Elise and gets that initial kill, but surprisingly Ssumday cancels his TP here, and Hauntzer, after getting that first, you know, kind of fadeaway kill, he realized, oh, they canceled their TP, we can keep going under this turret, and it kind of forces Shrimp and Keane to play this really well from here on out because Hauntzer's going to try and ult away, gets the cocoon into the ground in miasma, and then from there they get another kill. Luckily during this time, you know, Ssumday didn't just sit around and farm waves. He pushed down the mid lane and able to trade out a turret there. So it didn't turn out too bad for Dignitas, but there were some of those execution errors. Like we said before, Shrimp spent a lot of time down the bot side. It eventually got turned even once with a 2v3 kill for DoubleLift. And this whole time, you know, Ssumday's doing his best to try and pressure Hauntzer, but without the jungler, it's a little hard.
And we saw a lot of the game going out to the side lanes, but 26-25 in, Bjergsen cutting off the entire escape for Dignitas here once they did finally get themselves into the jungle.
And that's the big thing, is that this comes after Dignitas took a Baron. So this isn't just like, oh, a great team fight out of TSM. It's actually super important for the state of the game that they do this before Dignitas can really set up this siege. It's very, very scrappy. Sven's way too deep. A decent Cassio ult, but he kind of gets knocked in, finished off. So looks like it's going to be a relatively even trade with Dignitas able to disengage until this monster Taliyah ult traps everyone from getting out of the jungle, and it's kind of shooting fish in a barrel at this point.
You can almost see Braun puts up the shield. He's like, I can get out, but actually I need to save everybody because we are stuck in here. You can see the post-game breakdown. Player of the game. Yeah, it was a crazy game. Going over to Biofrost for the initiations. I mean, I remember the first game for this guy on a Karma for a TSM back in his first split, and he was flash forwarding for the resolves, for the W's. Get this guy on something that can flash even farther forward, and it seems like he is geared to do so. He's
been playing in the competitive meta of Lulu, Karma, Zyra for his whole career, but he was initially a Thresh one-trick, getting high up in solo queue with that, so he can obviously play the playmaking supports, this time getting on the Rakan, and like we said, that initial turn on that 2v3 was huge for getting DoubleLift ahead, who was kind of the other superstar in this game.
Can't forget DoubleLift.
Yeah, 10-0, whatever, that's pretty important, obviously. DoubleLift was able to be untouched in most of those team fights. The only backline dive was the Renekton, who never really got snowballing like a Renekton can. So he was able to kind of free fire for most of these team fights.
There's DoubleLift Reggie and Biofrost, the bot lane, the boss, and the coach hanging out as they discuss the next choice for the opposition in Dignitas. So we'll see what they have for each other. Looking now at actually what Dignitas brought to this week, Shrimp in the jungle. We kind of looked at Grig on the side of Echo Fox. How do we feel now for this new jungler coming in for Dig?
I think he's doing pretty good.
New.
Yeah, not quite new. He's been in and out. Obviously, him and Saint have been a little bit of a tandem throughout the North American LCS, but I think he's been doing pretty good overall. His first game, very proactive, camping bot lane. Tried to do the same thing this time around, and I didn't love the idea and some of the timings because, like we said, said, didn't get up to the top side till 10 minutes, and then when he finally did get up there, it left the bot side exposed, and TSM grabbed first turret. So there are some potential pathing and team synergy issues, but aside from that, in terms of mechanical plays and like decision making in team fight situations, it's been very, very good for him, and they just need to get a little bit more on the same page with what they should do with early pathing and what the draft allows them to do. Well,
they're going to get a game 3 to do it. This series is going that far. Meet us back here in a few minutes to see if Team Dignitas or TSM take the win.